As a burgeoning filmmaker, you are often, if not constantly, looking for opportunities to go ahead and level up, whether it's leveling up as a filmmaker yourself in terms of like your technical skills, your vision, all that, or leveling up in terms of career opportunities. And I thought there was possibly an opportunity to level up um, through this contest that I saw in the earlier parts of 2007. The contest, I believe, was called the Grindhouse Contest, or maybe it wasn't. But yeah, it was a contest that involved Robert Rodriguez and SXXW Film Festival. The contest was done in part to promote the film Grindhouse, which was coming out later that year. Grindhouse is a cinematic collaboration between Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino. It was a film that basically was two films in one. Rodriguez, his film was Planet Terror, and Tarantino's was Death Proof. And also, along with their two films, was these fake trailers that was done in the style of I guess the Grindhouse vein and vibes. Films from the 70s and 80s, which involved all kinds of genres. As a Grindhouse genres could involve action, could involve horror, just all kinds of stuff. It all had to have like this gritty, nasty, rough around the edges, like type of like aesthetic and feel and stories. I mean, some people call them exploitation films. But like Grindhouse films, they don't necessarily have like a super definitive, I guess, definition, but you know them when you see them. And these fake trailers were done, in the spirit of those films. And the fake trailers, they were directed by notable directors like Eli Roth, whose fake trailer Thanksgiving eventually became a real full-length trailer years later. Rob Zombie had one. Simon Pegg had one. I can't remember if there were any others besides those fake trailers. And this contest was, basically filmmakers, they can go ahead and submit their own fake trailers. And the winner, I can't remember what the prize was for the winner of this contest. But I remember just seeing this contest, like, oh, maybe I could go ahead and, submit something. I didn't. I just never had the right idea in my head. Probably was overthinking it. Ultimately, I didn't submit anything. Wish I had, but I didn't. But the winner of this contest was a filmmaker named Jason Eisner, who won with his short film or fake trailer, Hobo with a Shotgun. And I remember seeing Hobo with a Shotgun when he posted online. I remember being pretty impressed by it. And then later on, there was news that they said that they were going to go ahead and turn Hobo into a Shotgun into a real movie. And I was like, it was definitely anticipating the release of that. And I remember like following like any type of news that came out regarding to when this full-length version of Hobo with a Shotgun would be released, and it would be a while. It would definitely be a long while because Hobo Shotgun was eventually released in 2011. I remember at one point during the 4 years between the fake trailer and the release, full-length release of Hobo with a Shotgun, I thought, is this film ever get made? Because there was like radio silence for a while, and then I learned later on like the various reasons why there was this delay, 4-year delay. But eventually, Hobo with a Shotgun did come out, and I saw it in theaters. I saw it in around West Fourth, and I loved it. I loved it. From start to finish. The movie stars one of my favorite actors of all time, Rutger Hauer. Rutger Hauer plays the unnamed, unhoused person of the title of the film. And this is easily one of his best roles. Like I would put this role up there with Roy Batty, and a number of other great roles he played, like in films like Bly Fury. The scene where Rutger Hauer is in a hospital, talking to newborn infants and telling them like, all about life and what it may entail for them later on in the future, is a really like just I don't know what I want to say emotionally devastating, but it's massively moving, that scene. I guess it's mostly devastating in that he's like just letting them know like life it's may very well be something that can be a great challenge, you know, and I hope that you will eventually be up to the task, you know, because you know the rest of us who are around, who've been around a long time, you know, may have not been, and it's just like one of my favorites all-time scenes ever. Like after, of course, the tears and rain scene in Blade Runner. This is my next favorite scene from Rutger Hauer. The cast in this film is strong across the board. Um, Another notable performance, a great performance, is by Molly Dunsworth as Abby. She's just fantastic as you know, as a good person who just wants to get out of a very bad situation, and you know, one of the few bright lights in this very, very, very dark town called Scumtown. And Scumtown is I don't know if you've seen any trauma films. Like it's definitely very reminiscent of that. Like these very crazy, like super chaotic, um, cartoonish place, and just where all kinds of crazy shit just happens. Um, like crime is like through the roof, you know, bad behavior is through the roof. This town is controlled by a bunch of scumbags. Like nobody's honest. Well, practically nobody's honest in this town, you know, and just about everybody's corrupt or messed up in some way or another. And yeah, and you got Rutger Hauer, his character, and Molly Dunsworth's character, Abby, just you know, along with you know some other citizens, just doing their best, you know, to fight the good fight, even though it may seem like, what's the point? But fighting a good fight, whether you win or lose, is always, you know, the point. Yeah, this movie is really something else in terms of like just being fucked up. Like it truly is a messed up movie. There's definitely one scene in particular where this is like the make it or break it scene in terms of like a viewer. Like if you can't handle this type of scene, I definitely would say don't watch this movie. Um, yeah, like you know, you hear all this talk about like I don't know, it's during the 2000s and after 2010s and such, you would have these homages that would come out, like these films, like we are like tributes, you know, to the grindhouse films of yesteryears, you know, we are going to be just as raw, you know, and just as real as these films. And then when you see them, they're like, no, they're not. Like, you know, in comparison to like, you know, their predecessors, like they're you know they're washed out, you know, they're watered down, you know, they're definitely weaker in comparison in terms of like they're definitely weaker in comparison in terms of like objectionable material. And some of that is probably just because you know you get used to watching a certain type of movie, you know, you become desensitized, so it is harder to go ahead and shock people, you know, disturb people as it once was decades ago. But it definitely is still places where you can go and still shock people if you know they do it right. And Hobo With A Shotgun definitely did it exceptionally well. Hobo With A Shotgun, what makes it different from those other type of movies? That actually, like I said, it has strong performances, but it also has a heart. It is sincere. Like it's not simply just trying to, you know, unnerve you. And you know, every film has its intention. And you know, there's nothing wrong if that's all film wants to do is just unnerve you. I can understand why most people would not want to watch movies like that. But there's definitely a place for movies like that, particularly when it's clear in its intentions. This was about, you know, you may not like it, but you know, we it is what it is. But you know, like I said, Hobo with Shotgun is more than just, you know, shock. There is real sincerity to it. In terms of, like, the stories trying to tell, in terms of the characters. You feel for these people. You particularly feel for Rutger Hauer's character and Molly Dunsworth's character. You definitely feel for the people in this town. It's just like it's a pretty moving movie, at least, in parts anyway. But it definitely, knows what it is. It definitely knows that first and foremost. I do think that first and foremost, it is a sincere, film in terms of these characters' story. It also knows that, yeah, we're here to thrill you and excite you and, disturb you and all that stuff. All the things that you expect the Grindhouse film to do. Like I said, does it very, very well. Like the action scenes are actually done well. The climax of the film is also really well done, really intense, well put together. Like, yeah, like the film is certainly not boring. Hobo with a Shotgun is far from a four-quadrant crowd pleaser. This film will never be popular amongst the masses for a number of reasons, but for fans of gritty, grimy, grungy, gory grindhouse cinema like myself, this movie is pure gold.